Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our How to Master Your Weekly Revenue call with Lighthouse BI. We will just kick things off in one moment as we let a couple more people join. For today's session, if questions do come up during the webinar, please put them in the chat. We've saved some time at the end to cover questions, but please put them in there and we'll make sure to answer them after we've gone through the material. And with that, let's get going. My name is Vince Kuzma. I'm a solutions engineer here at Lighthouse, which basically means I'm here to kind of connect the dots, with all of our systems and products. And we're also joined today by Conrad.
Good morning, everyone. I am a business development manager here at Lighthouse. I specialize in our business intelligence product, which we will overview today. Cool. So before we dive into things, wanted to take a quick moment to set the stage for today's session. Lighthouse, formerly known as OTA Insight, has gone through quite the transformation over the past few years. We've been able to grow our customer base to over 70,000 hotels. And our mission as a company is simple: to reimagine commercial strategy for the travel and hospitality industry. This requires us to continue to innovate, to deliver the best platform for hospitality professionals, to price more effectively, measure performance more efficiently, understand their markets in new ways. So at Lighthouse, our customers' feedback and input are truly the guiding lights for our innovation. Whether you're calling in today from a chain, a management group, ownership group, or even an independent property, we are working with you and your industry peers to deliver best-in-class tools for revenue professionals. So we really envision a world where data-driven decisions become the norm and where every property, no matter its size, has the tools to compete effectively and efficiently. So our commercial platform is designed to meet you at every stage of the revenue management process, from understanding potential demand drivers in your markets, fine-tuning pricing strategies, optimizing distribution and parity, analyzing performance, and all the way to benchmarking against your competitors. Today's overview, we will focus on the analyze portion of the flywheel here and how you can harness the power of your data to better understand historical performance, identify revenue opportunities, and forecast future business outlook using business intelligence. So to start, we'll jump into a few prepared questions to provide some context around the tool.
Yeah. So again, today's webinar is really about Lighthouse BI and more specifically running a weekly revenue meeting. But these questions will just give a little more background, like Conrad said. So yeah, Conrad, in your role, you're dealing with accounts and prospects all the time. What do you hear from clients about their weekly reports they're using today?
Yeah, so we speak to, on-property stakeholders and above property folks like revenue managers, operations, sales, and marketing. And the consistent feedback is oftentimes that their data can be quite disjointed. And this makes the collection and aggregation process not only pretty time consuming every day, but difficult to tell the right story property to property when you might have various brands and different systems that you're working out of. So this can really be seen in the form of a stakeholder in the business maybe asking questions about certain aspects of their performance that these revenue leaders just don't have the answers readily available. That's when we start to hear more and more from our clients about getting some automation involved in their daily and weekly reporting to ensure everyone in the business is aligned to corporate revenue initiatives and those KPIs that measure success.
Makes sense. What about data? What data sets are they typically looking at?
Yeah, so data is a big one, right? And for analyzing performance, the big one is going to be PMS data. What's actualized this year, historical data to look at pace and seasonal trends, but also their OTB for upcoming periods. So that's when we start to get into reports that are pulled from the PMS. Typically, they're turned into spreadsheets where a lot of revenue teams' current deliverables might be crafted. That's where we're seeing other data points like forecast and budget data, RMS data, star reports, comp set rates, upcoming events, and so on, kind of layered on top of the static PMS data in those spreadsheets where revenue managers are really beginning their analysis. So what our clients are looking at with business intelligence is all of these different data sources in one view, updating automatically every single day.
Got to be a massive impact. That's got to be a lot to manage, on a daily basis, weekly basis, just even getting all that together to work in Excel. So to that point, what again would you say you hear are the top benefits that hotels get from leveraging Lighthouse BI?
Yeah, so the benefits range, and it's really how can we help solve operational and commercial challenges for hotels? And the biggest challenges we typically hear from hotels and groups is how can we avoid those unremarkable revenue calls each week where there's maybe inefficient collaboration between our teams, and maybe general disconnect on rate strategy and property or portfolio level goals. So with Lighthouse BI, hotels are able to develop a consistent framework, no matter the brand or independent system, for their weekly revenue analysis. As you can imagine, Vince, when we start to kind of blend some of that automation into pooling of these reports that are typically done manually, that comes with a huge amount of time savings, as you kind of alluded to, when you're prepping for revenue calls or generating that revenue packet each week. So as teams are kind of live on these calls, the unrated benefits of having all your data in one place really start to shine. So this can be seen kind of through the dynamic nature of the platform, as we'll get into, where you can take some live notes on specific days or portions of the packet to call things out. You're also able to drill down all the way to the reservation level detail, giving your team kind of that ultimate transparency into how you're really performing and the why behind that performance. And to take that a step further, there's some various combinations of data layered on top of each other. So if we're looking at pickup, for example, you're not just going to see room nights. You can also see the segmentation of your pickup, how that's affected your ADR, and how that compares to other days that might have had significant pickup as well. And then finally, you have the ability to save multiple versions of this revenue packet that gets stored within the platform. So as a team, you really kind of begin to build that repository of your strategy over time.
That's great. Having, that reference, I think is also, really impactful looking back, being able to understand the decisions, everyone has made week to week, month to month, even year to year.
Yeah, having the ability to go back in time and see, maybe a strategy change you made and how it ended up performing is super valuable for these properties.
So with that, let's jump into the platform. As a reminder for the audience, we're going to go through a little bit of a mock scenario where I will be playing the role of the revenue manager, Conrad will be playing the role of the general manager, and we'll go through a truncated version of the revenue, weekly call. We're certainly not going to spend an entire 30, 45 minute hour discussion, but just so people can understand, some of the flow and basis of how the calls can run when you're using Lighthouse BI. All right. So for this week, as we do every week, let's go through our star report updates. I will admit this week was a bit of a challenge for the team. Sunday, it was at 80. Monday, we were at, a 116 RevPAR, 88 RGI. But then the week, started to take a bit of an impact. Tuesday, we were down to 60. Wednesday, 41. Thursday, 36. And then Friday recovered a little bit with a 38. Saturday down to 25. So, this week we were down pretty significantly compared to last week with an RGI of 48. We did do quite well from a rate perspective. The team is doing good about, bringing in solid rate and holding rate on the transient side. We had an 83 there from an ARI, but we really did take a hit in terms of occupancy this week, especially from midweek on.
Got it. So Vince, what do you think kind of drove those changes? Was it production of some of our segments?
Yeah, if we unpack that a little bit, we'll come down here to the segment area. Again, I do want to say from a rate perspective, we are doing really well. But if we look at how we're doing segment wise compared to same time last year, discount strong, right? We were at 266 rooms compared to 125 last year. Retail, we definitely took a hit. I think we were trading some of that retail production for discount. We were at 196 last year, or 196 this year, 373 last year though. So you can see for every day of the week, we were down compared to same time last year. From a corporate negotiated perspective, we actually beat last year with 88 rooms, but it still wasn't enough. I know, we have a big initiative right now to be driving that corporate business. We'll unpack some of that a little bit on this call. So, while we were beating last year, we're still not producing enough. But the biggest impact was that we had that big group fallout. Last week we were really relying on, 40 room nights from a group that was supposed to be in-house. They had that last minute cancellation. And so, that Wednesday to Saturday business, we really just got hit from that group that dropped out, and that kind of tanked our week.
Vince, what do you think we can do to kind of help boost that going forward?
I think it is risky when we only have one group in-house and we're relying, solely on that. So, the team's been doing a good job driving corporate business, but from a sales perspective, I do think, we need to work with our group manager to really try and layer in multiple groups so that, again, if there is a last minute interruption, it's not like we have an entire fall off the cliff moment. So, I have some ideas, for some local, promotions and groups that we might be able to go out and partner with. But again, I do think, anytime we only have a single group in house, there is that risk.
Got it. Okay.
I did want to talk a little bit more about segments. And so I'm going to move off the star report and go into our segment drill down. And we can talk a little bit about specifically Wednesday, Thursday, where there might be some opportunities from a segment perspective. So let's go ahead and make sure our dates are the right dates. So we want to be looking at the last week in November, and then we will look at the last week equivalent for last year. So let me just update that now. Just give it 1 second to load. Okay. So again, if we just look at the production from a segment perspective, we can see that discount segment, like we discussed, was really driving the week. We are up significantly from last year. Retail, again, we're kind of trading into that discount segment. So I'm not as concerned with that. Negotiated, though, is where I really want to unpack a little bit, but I want to do it again by day. So I'm going to go ahead and add day of week here and bring that to the top so that we can look at specifically that Wednesday, Thursday production. Again, our RGI really fell off from the group, but I do think we have an opportunity to boost that with negotiated. So if we take a look at Wednesday, which was the kind of softest from a total room night perspective in that midweek business, I want to actually look at the specific companies that were producing for us midweek. So if we come into here into the negotiated segment, we see we only had 9 room nights on Wednesday coming from negotiated. And you can see it was producing from these 4 companies. So we had some military production, Occidental Petroleum, Fesco, and then corporate housing. These down here with the zeros, you can see they produced for us last year, but not this year. And so again, that might be worth just kind of saying hi to Rocket Stay and Saliwa to see if they happen to be coming back this year and maybe have changed their minds on hotels. We may be able to have some opportunity there. But I really do think Occidental Petroleum is who we need to go after. So I'll talk to our BT sales manager about, giving that account a call, because I know they're producing more rooms in our market. And so for us to only get 1 room night from them, I know we can do better.
Yeah, I agree, Vince. If there's still some opportunity out there with some of these companies, let's definitely make that a priority for this week.
And then again, to unpack Thursday, again, we'll come into negotiated. Thursday, we had 11 rooms, so up from the 8 on Wednesday. Fesco doing well, corporate housing doing well for us. And then again, that 1 Occidental Petroleum. What I wanted to call out here again is Rocket Stay. And so, they were in town last week for multiple nights. They were a good piece of business. ADR was a little low, but again, we just need production at this point. And so again, I think my takeaway from this week is really to focus on Occidental and Rocket Stay and see, if we can get a little more business from those 2 accounts.
Okay, sounds good.
So any other questions about kind of our segmentation production or things you wanted to drill in today?
No, the segmentation looks good. Thanks for going over that. I was a little bit curious. I know we're trying to push some longer length of stay at a property. Vince, are we hitting that goal by chance?
It's a great question. Let's take a look. So we'll come into here to our day by day, into the length of stay report. And then let me just get our dates updated. So we're looking at that same range real quick. I did take a look at this before the meeting, and I will say we have some good news to share here. From a 1 night length of stay, you can see we were producing 70 rooms. Last year, that was at 100. From a 2 night, 84 compared to 118. But as we get longer, you'll see, it starts to flip. So from a 3 to 6 night, we're at 248 rooms compared to 309. And then when we get into that 7+, really beating last year, I think these initiatives are starting to really take hold and hit the strategy we were targeting. So, 105 room nights between 7 and 14, 85 between 15 and 29, and then 1830+. And that 1830+ was at a 144 ADR. And so that's just like really massive that we're able to drive that rate for that business, especially as we come into the holiday season. I think it's important that we are padding production with that longer length of stay business, especially if we're getting this rate. So I am proud to say that those initiatives we were taking to drive, longer length of stay are starting to have some effect, and we're getting some really good outcomes from them.
Okay, good. That's positive. I know that's still going to be a focus from our owners, making sure we keep an eye on occupancy every single day, especially going into next year. So that's great. Curious, Vince, can we look at pickup for next week as well?
Yeah, of course. So let us go and look at the heat map, which is kind of our favorite place to start. And then we'll go a little more day by day and kind of talk about, December and the first part of January. So here, again, really easy to understand visually what's going on. Compared to yesterday, we picked up 89 rooms overall. That was at a 155 ADR, equaling 113,769 in revenue. So not bad. But, as you can see from a color coding perspective, most of that pickup was in the next 10 days. So, you can see for the second half of December, things do start to get a little colder. We did have one room night start to pick up on the holiday week, which is great. But again, I really do think we need to be talking about if we can bring in any groups for the last part of December. I know we're getting kind of down to the wire. But the second half of the month is looking kind of soft and the pickup is not really there. So I am a little worried, as we start the month where things might land. Looking a little further out, we did have one room pickup in January 25th, and then, one reservation for 2 nights pickup at the beginning of February, but nothing significant, from the next couple months. We will talk about this event here for the 9th, 10th, and 11th. That's a period where I think we do have a chance to shine in the next couple weeks. So if you're okay with this overall view, I want to hop to the day by day and we can talk a little bit more specifics.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's review that and look at next month as well.
Great. So we'll come back to our rev pack. We'll go to the 90-day outlook and we'll go through a little more individually. Let me just, again, make sure our days are what we want. So one thing I did want to celebrate before we get, into the future is, the last couple of days we are basically at a sellout. So, just one room night shy of a perfect sellout for Monday, Tuesday, and today to start the week. So, we should have, a much stronger result on the STAR report from a week over week perspective.
Great.
So now, I'm going to pull over and, kind of keep an eye on this forecast, and then we can talk a little bit about, some of our strategies. So again, I'm feeling really good about the week with that business sellout for the beginning. From the second half of the week, things are looking a little softer. Right now we're forecasting to only have 87 rooms on Friday, the 6th, 80 rooms on Saturday, the 7th, and 90 rooms. It does go up to start again next week. And so again, the second half of the week is really where we need that group business to pick up.
Got it. So I think, Vince, maybe on the 6th, I know we are looking a little bit softer there, but it looks like the comp set, the ADR there is a little bit higher. I'd like to raise our rates to 175 just to be more aligned with them on the 6th.
Okay. I mean, we're at 137 now and we're looking pretty soft, but you want to go as high as 175?
Yeah, just looking at the Palms and Hampton down the street, just knowing we really compete with them on those days, especially on the weekends there. So 175, I think, makes sense.
Okay. I made a note of it and I'll go ahead and make that change after the call.
Okay, cool. And then another piece, I know you mentioned early next week. So looking at the 12th, just to make sure we do kind of continue to see our occupancy kind of rise there. What do you think about putting in like a 2-night length of stay restriction on the 12th?
I am a little worried about that weekend. And so again, you can see from this event, the Gartner identity event, like we're basically forecasting a sellout, but that Thursday, Friday, I am a little worried about. So, I do think a length of stay 2 is a good idea to try and pull in a little more business on those days.
Okay, perfect.
So as we keep going through day by day, again, same pattern. Beginning of the week is looking stronger. Second half of the week is looking a little weaker. As we get into the holidays, I'm very worried about Christmas. We're only at, 6 rooms, the 23rd, 24th, 25th. So again, I don't know if there's any miracles our sales team can do, but from my perspective, I'm a little nervous because our rate is already pretty low compared to other days, but we just aren't seeming to get any traction So again, I did just want to call that out. I'm not sure if raising or lowering rate is going to help anything, but it is looking pretty soft.
Okay, that's good to know.
Speaking of that, should we talk a little bit about special events?
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have, of course, the holidays coming up, right? A few citywides. Let's go through event strategy.
Great. So in this event strategy report, let me just go ahead and again update to be looking at future events. Maybe we'll just go through Feb because I know that you have a busy day ahead of you. So next event coming up, we're feeling really strong about that Gartner Identity Summit. We already mentioned we're looking at a sellout for those days. Christmas, we just talked about briefly, looking pretty soft. Really 60-70% if we're lucky. The comp set is also lower rated for Christmas, and so again, that's one of the reasons I'm worried about if lowering a rate is going to do anything. Last year, ADR was really soft for Christmas, right? We're talking 80 and 95. Now that did boost us. So, maybe next week we talk about dropping rate, but I do think we should maybe hold steady for just a couple more days before we make that decision.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see how we do over the next week for these couple days. And if our pickup is lagging a bit, let's think about lowering that.
Okay, great. I did want to ask you about New Year's Day. We're looking pretty soft. I don't know if we want to, play around with any promotions, maybe try and go either OTA or opt into some of the brand accelerators. Because again, it's not looking great for that day.
Yeah, that's definitely an important day. I want to start the year strong. Yeah, Vince, anything you recommend, whether it's, I think opting into some more brand promotions would definitely be helpful. But yeah, let's maximize our OTA production there. Definitely want to see occupancy start off strong.
Okay, will do. And then again, for events further out in January and February, at this point, we're really looking soft, but I don't think we really need to take any action. From a comp set perspective, things seem to be pretty stable. So, again, my recommendation would be just kind of hang tight for another week, but we'll keep an eye on stuff.
Okay, sounds good.
And then, I know we wanted to keep an eye on 2025 as well. Just to kind of flip to the end date, looking a full year out, this will only take a moment, but I did want to kind of bring up how demand is looking and how rates are looking for that period. So you can see the comp set doesn't have anything open after December 3rd. So I don't think we're really at a point where we need to be making any pricing decisions. Demand again is looking a little softer for the beginning of November to start. And then again, if we look a little further out, I know that again, you've been very on me about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So I just wanted to highlight that from a competitive perspective, we're not really missing out. No one has had rates set in the market yet, but that's something I'm keeping an eye out day by day to make sure that we don't get caught.
Yeah, let's touch on that again next week just to see where the comp set is at. If anyone's opened up rates, just to make sure we're staying ahead of that. But if no one's opened up anything right now, let's keep our inventory closed and circle back next week.
All right.
Cool. Well, thank you, Vince. This has been helpful. If you could save this and send it over to me, that would be great.
Yep. I'll go ahead and save it to the RevPack library, and I will shoot you an example, or I'll shoot you the reports over email as well.
Cool. Thanks, Vince.
Well, that was pretty fun, Conrad.
Yeah, it was. You did a great job. I did see we had some questions flow through in the chat here. I'm going to start with some of the more high level ones, and I know we are running close on time here, so we'll get through as many as we can. One of them from Rebecca Gustin. My hotel is new to BI. Is there any training on the tool for beginners? So our product evangelist, his name is Daniel Foreman. He has created a whole repository of training videos for every single module within Lighthouse BI. So Rebecca, we will follow up with the link to all of those training videos. They're anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the depth. Daniel gets into some kind of real world examples on how you can use each module. Also saw a question come in from Miguel Cunha from Intercontinental Lisbon. Their menu on their site only shows bookings and cancellations. I do not have any snapshot option. So just for clarity, we went over the Lighthouse BI product today. We do have a product called Revenue Insight, which is our legacy BI product. If you're only seeing bookings and cancellations on your screen, you're likely on the Revenue Insight product. So if you want to hit that get a demo call out there on the bottom right of your screen, reach out to our team. There are some upgrade options to get you the additional modules that Vince and I went over today.
I see another one. What's the difference between the snapshot heat map versus the RevPack pickup? These are really just different flavors of the same data set. And so, the heat map is supposed to just give you a little more visual, at a glance where things are changing. Whereas the RevPack pickup is a little bit more of that classic, spreadsheet. You have your different fixed pickup ranges, the 1, the 3, the 7-day pickup. So again, just different ways to look at similar data. We find that people kind of gravitate towards their favorite views, but they have a couple options.
Perfect. And see a question here from Tony from Courtyard by Marriott. Which forecast is on the 90-day outlook, user or BI? And then another one from Mila Torres. How is Lighthouse determining the forecast? So Lighthouse is able to bring in a few different forecasts that you guys have. One of them can be a forecast from an RMS. So for Marriott, we can pull in One Yield. Hilton, we can pull in Grow. For Hyatt, we can pull in Hyatt Grow. And then we also support Ideas in Duetto. Now there's going to be a few other forecasts we have on the platform as well. One of them is called a user forecast. So there is a module within the tool that you can actually go in and create your own forecast. We can also pull in any forecasting numbers you and the team might be doing in any of your financial BI tools, such as ProfitSword or Fairmos. And then the last forecast is going to be the BI forecast. That's the platform's internal forecast, looking at your historical data, day-by-day trends, seasonal trends, and giving you a forecast number on any given day. So in the backend settings of BI, what you can do is actually choose one of those as your primary forecast. So within that 90-day outlook that Vince went over, you'll be able to see your user forecast or your BI forecast or your RMS forecast, whichever one you'd like to see.
All right. I know there are a couple other questions, and I do think because we're at time today, we will make sure that we reach out to you all individually to address those. There have been some questions about, is this recorded? The answer is yes. You'll receive that recording automatically. But in terms of the people's questions that we weren't able to address in our time today, we will be reaching out and looking forward to the conversation.
Cool. Thank you all for your time today.